Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Eloise and today I'm going to be running really quickly through books I'm unhauling. So this is some books that I've over the last couple of months I've either read and not liked, and I don't keep books I don't like because I'd rather they went to someone else who will enjoy them, or I've got another edition of the book, or I just don't want to read it anymore. So without further ado, let's go through my unhaul. Why could I not think of the words? Okay, so the first book I'm unhauling is The Shining by Stephen King. I read it in October. I did give it 4 stars, but I didn't love it. So my dad is an absolutely huge Stephen King fan. He collects like all his books. He's got quite a few first editions. And I know he doesn't have a copy of The Shining, so whilst it's not a first edition, it is quite a cool edition from the 1980s. And I think he'll like it, so I'm going to give that to my dad. Next is a book that I read in October and I really didn't care for, and it's such a loved book, so I'd rather it went to a new home. It's basically in like brand new condition, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I just didn't get this book. We follow our main character Piranesi, who is living in like a labyrinth, a big maze, a house made up of halls and minotaurs and big pillars and columns, and we're trying to figure out why he's there, what's going on, and it was just a bit too... It just went straight over my head. I didn't get it and I therefore didn't really care for it, so I'd rather it went to someone who will love this book. Next I am unhauling The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. Not for any bad reason. You can see here I've got a hardback edition. This was my book of the month and the year so far, so I read it in October and I adored it, so I wanted to get this edition. This is a charity shop edition. It's pretty battered. It has got a ripped page, but the pages were stuck together. So yeah, nothing against this book, I just prefer this edition, and I gave it to someone who was going to read it and hopefully fall in love with it like I did. Next is a controversial one. I am unhauling Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I read this August or September and I really didn't care for it. I thought this would be a new favourite of mine. It is a YA fantasy and it's kind of a retelling of King Arthur. And yeah. We follow Bree, our main character, as she kind of finds out about this secret society and wonders if this is anything to do with her mother's mysterious death. I just didn't care for it. I found it very, very, very complicated, like unnecessarily complicated. The world building was huge and complicated. I just didn't understand it. The last bit was the best bit. I quite like Bree as our main character, but honestly, this is so loved and I really said I didn't like it, but it was just far too complicated. It gave me a bit of a headache, and for a YA book it's a long old book and the writing is tiny, so yeah, unfortunately not one I will be continuing with in terms of the series, although the next cover has just been announced and it is absolutely stunning, but I can't continue with a series when I didn't like the first. I just can't. There's too many series out there which I will like. So yeah, this is going to go to someone else who I think will enjoy it more. Next, I am getting rid of a brand new edition of Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. No other reason than I got a copy in my October Fairy loot box. When this came out, I was like, why haven't I pre-ordered that? So I picked up a copy of Waterstones. This is the Waterstones exclusive. And then the exact same day my fairy loot arrived and I was like, that's why I didn't get it, so I'm just going to give this to someone else who wants to read it. I've not read a book by Bridget Kemmerer yet. I have got the first in the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series on my shelves to read, but yeah, I'm sure someone else will love this one. Next, I am getting rid of Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, only because this is a bit of a battered charity shop copy, and I found a bargain hardback edition which I have instead, and it's got red sprayed edges. Not read this. It sounds really cool. I think someone, so I'm just reading the back, our main character hears the words, "Are you happy in your own life?" and then he's knocked out and then he wakes up and someone says welcome back, and it's like a world he has no idea what this world is and what's going on and who these people are. So it sounds like a bit of a mysterious, confusing sci-fi possibly. Looking forward to it. I just don't need 2 editions, so that is going. Next, I am going to be unhauling The Tattooist of Auschwitz. Nothing wrong with this. Again, I love this book. I therefore bought a hardback. I think I'm pointing at the right one. A hardback edition of this book, and I don't need 2, and I would love someone else to read and absolutely adore this series, this story, well, and the series, because I loved Silka's Journey as well. So yeah, wonderful, wonderful book. I just don't need 2 editions. Next, I finally read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and I detested it. I think it is so rubbish. I know I'm not the target audience, it's a YA book, but I was like big all over Instagram and TikTok, so I thought, oh, I'll give it a go, I'm probably gonna like it. And I really did go into it knowing nothing other than I knew a few people really hated it, so I was like, alright, am I gonna love this? And I hoped I would, and I read it really quickly. I know it is a short book, but I was quite intrigued, and then the big revelation happened and I did not care for it. So yeah, I don't need to keep this. As I said, I don't keep books I don't like, so hopefully someone else will pick this up and love it. Next, I'm getting rid of A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, only because I love this book. This was my book of the year until I read The Giver of Stars in October, so this is like my second book of the year so far, and I've now bought someone was selling their, on Instagram was selling their hardback edition, and I snapped it up because I wanted to own it, so I don't need 2 copies, and again, someone else can read and hopefully, I wouldn't say enjoy because it's not a book that I necessarily enjoyed, but appreciate the masterpiece that this book is. Next, I am unhauling The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I read this again in October and I didn't really care for it, so again, I would rather it went to someone who will enjoy it. It's a bit of like a mystery thriller where there's a baby in a big Chelsea mansion and like a well cared for baby upstairs in a cot and 3 bodies downstairs with a note, so it looks like a kind of suicide note. And we follow the now 25-year-old baby in the present day as she gets a letter to say she's inherited this Chelsea mansion. She knows that she is adopted but doesn't know anything about like her birth parents. So we go on a bit of a journey so she finds out what happened, and there's 2 other characters whose timelines we follow and find out what happened back then in the 1980s and what's going on in the present day. Unfortunately, I just didn't love it. I was expecting lots of thrills, I was expecting it to be creepy and twisty and turny, and I just didn't care for it. I wasn't surprised at anything that happened, so yeah. Sadly, not my favourite by Lisa Jewell, but I'm sure someone else will love it. And there is a second book coming out, so maybe someone wants to read this before that second book comes out. The next book was a total cover purchase for me, and it's No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. This is probably one of my favourite covers, and I was tempted to keep it because of the cover, but I read 30 pages of this and I just didn't get it and I could not stand it, so I stopped reading. I couldn't even tell you what it's about. It's like a woman who's obsessed with the internet, but like in a future world where that's normal, that you just are that absorbed by the internet. But that's all I know about it. It just went straight over my head and I couldn't stand it, so I'd rather went to someone who enjoys it, but I will miss this beautiful cover. Next, I am going to be unhauling this arc of Jade Fire Gold. Again, one I read in October and I just didn't live up to my expectations, unfortunately, and I know someone else will absolutely love picking up an arc of quite a new release because it's out on the 4th of November. It was just a bit meh for me, and I know someone else will love it, so I'd rather it went to a home where someone will appreciate it and enjoy it. I am unhauling A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J Maas. Nothing wrong with this, I loved this book. I've just got, so I've bought a set of the hardbacks of the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and this came with it, but I've already got an exclusive first signed edition, so I don't need. Hello, sorry for the change in outfit, hair and no glasses. I'm adding on to the end of my unhaul because since filming that, which wasn't that long ago, I've kind of had a shelf cleanse, so I've got a load more books to add, and I don't want to do another haul video, I don't want to do another haul video like so close to this one. I'd rather put them all in one. I'm unhauling The Prison Doctor by Dr. Amanda Brown. I read this month, so November, and I will talk about it more in my end of month wrap up, but this is a non-fiction basically about the author's time working in 3 different prisons as the prison doctor, and as someone who's recently found an absolute love for non-fiction and things like This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay, I really thought this would be up my street. I had a lot of problems with it. I thought the author was very well done me, like self-congratulatory, which I'm not saying, obviously I wouldn't discredit what she does. She probably does an incredible job, a hard job, but there weren't enough prisoner stories in here. It was more about like Amanda's internal thoughts and how she felt and all the, I didn't like it. I found it very stereotypical attitude towards prison in like the audiobook, and it wasn't for me, and I need to go somewhere else. Next, I'm unhauling The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, this very battered copy. Another book I've read this month. It's a is it Victorian? I don't know if it's Victorian. So I'm going to say historical steamy romance. It was cute, it was cheesy, it was everything I thought it would be, it was everything I was looking for at the time. It's just a cute, steamy, cheesy romance. Very steamy actually. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to continue the series and I don't need this copy. Next I am unhauling the first 3 books in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I've not read these and I don't think I ever will. And my sister lent me these, so I'm probably going to give them back to her because I just don't think I'm going to read them. There's so many more kind of YA fantasy series that I want to read ahead of this one, and I don't really want to read it, to be honest, so I'm going to give these back to her. Next is probably, I mean the pages are falling out and that's kind of why I'm getting rid of it. It is Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I picked this up for free on Facebook like ages ago, and the state of this book is just like, I've not read it but I don't want to. I do still think I want to read this book, but I don't need this copy. I'll probably read it on Kindle. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm getting rid of it. Next is So Lucky by Dawn Porter, another book that I've read in the month of November, and I bloody hated it. I thought I would love this because Dawn Porter, I know who she is, and I find her really funny and likeable, and I thought it'd be the contemporary fiction that I like. So I like authors like Dolly Alderton who wrote Ghosts and Daisy Buchanan who wrote Insatiable. So I therefore thought I would love this because I thought it would be that kind of thing. And the writing style I did really like, but the characters I really did not like. I found, so the 3 main female protagonists, there's Ruby, Beth and Lauren. Really didn't like Ruby, like I really hated her. And then I just generally found the storyline really unrealistic, and I know it's fiction, so it's not supposed to be real, but it's kind of like a real life fiction but unrealistic. Like, it was just a bit silly, to be honest. I don't need it. Next is the most controversial on this, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So another book I've read this month. You can see a theme here. I don't keep books that I don't give 4 stars or above. So spoiler alert for my November wrap-up, I gave this 3 stars. If I'd have seen this cover and read the synopsis before it kind of exploded into this huge book that everyone's obsessed with, I would have never picked this up. So to be fair, I was going into it basically wanting to know what the first was all about, but also knowing it wasn't really going to be for me. And I was right. I found it really slow to get going. Like, it took over half the book for me to really care and not be bored. I thought it was really boring. But then it got better. I liked them both, but he was sexy. Yeah. Just wasn't a new favourite. And I know so many people love this and want this, so I'd rather it went to someone who is going to treat it like the 5-star book that everyone else seems to think it is, but unfortunately for me it just wasn't. It just wasn't, okay? I'm okay with that. Next I'm unhauling Grown Ups by Marian Keyes, simply because I've had this as a possible unhaul book probably since over a year. I've read a lot of Marian Keyes. When I was like a teenager, my mum used to have all the Marian Keyes books and I read them all. I couldn't tell you much about any of them, but I read them all. And this book is so chunky. The last book of hers I read was The Break, and I really didn't like it. It went on and on and on and on and not much happened. And I think that's kind of a theme with Marian Keyes books, and for some people it works, but for me it used to work, but I don't think it does anymore. And I've heard a lot of people say it's very long. I mean, look at the family tree. Like, do I need to know all of that? All of these people? Will I be referring to this constantly? It's a big old book and I'm just not interested, so new home required. Next, I don't even know which the first book is, but Princess in Practice and Undercover Princess by Connie Glynn. 2 cute little covers. I would presume this is like middle grade. I don't know, it could be YA, but I would presume middle grade. Obviously they're signed. I'm never going to read them. I think I kind of picked them up when I got really excited of just buying books, and I'm less like that now. I'm a bit more mindful of what I'm buying in terms of, like, I buy things that I think, I know I want to read. So I'd rather these went to someone who would adore them. I'm not the target audience. I'm not sure why I bought them, to be honest. Next is Truly Madly Guilty by Leanne Moriarty. I read Big Little Lies and Husband's Secret, I think it's called, and 3 Wishes years and years ago, and I really enjoyed them. Big Little Lies is a brilliant book. I need to get a copy of that. I think I read it on my Kindle. Anyway, but Nine Perfect Strangers I unhauled without reading because I heard negative things about it. Her latest book I've also heard not very good things about, and I've kind of lost interest in reading her stuff. Another one that's been sat on my shelf for ages and I've just never felt like I wanted to pick it up. Realistically, I probably never will, so it's a nice hardback. Someone else who's a big fan of hers will probably love this, so yeah. Next is another of those which, when I just started buying books for the sake of it, and I stopped doing that, I have a thing for like old book covers, and this is Hammerfall by CJ Cherryh. It was £1. I looked it up on Goodreads and it's probably got some of the lowest ratings I've ever seen for a book. So I'm not going to read it, so it's going. Next is White Ivy by Susie Yang. I saw this quite a lot. It's a thriller, but another one where I have been influenced by reviews. Reviews for this, again, aren't very good. I'm not necessarily sure it sounds like my cup of tea anymore. And some people I trust on Instagram have kind of said I won't like it and it's not a very good book. So my TBR is huge. Someone else will enjoy this. I have no desire to read it, so it's going. And the final book is the November 2021 Fairy Loot book. So if you don't want to see that, then end the video here because it is the book from that. And it's funny enough, so Fairy Loot spoiler people have, hopefully you've gone now. Funnily enough, it's a book I've already unhauled in this video, but I had the arc of it, and then I didn't realise it was the Fairy Loot book. If I'd have known it was a Fairy Loot book, I would have skipped this month, but I didn't. And that is Jade Fire Gold by June C.L. Tan. This cover is beautiful. I've got the author's note in here. It's a beautiful green embossed hardback cover with pretty, oh my god, what's the word? Reverse dust jacket. But this is another thing. If this was like my first Fairy Loot book, there's no doubt in my mind I'd be keeping it. However, I've been a Fairy Loot subscriber, I couldn't think of the word, for a few months now, and I did very nearly keep this, and I decided when it arrived I was like, oh, it's stunning, I'm going to keep it. But I didn't like the book, so why would I? When someone else may enjoy this, it's already got a new home. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. Like, a lot of people love this, but also a lot of people think the same as me, that it was a bit meh. So I don't need it. I don't need it. And I think I'm going to be a bit more harsh. I've got another video coming up which is like, not unhaul, but maybe unhaul. And I don't need to keep every special edition book I get. I just don't. And I need to, I'm saying that for myself because I don't need to keep them all, no matter how gorgeous and special they are. Ow. I don't need to keep them if I don't like them or I don't want to read them. So yeah, now I'm going to go back to past Eloise, who can wrap this video up. Bye. So those are all of the books that I am unhauling. It's just a quick unhaul, but I love watching unhaul, so I thought I'm getting rid of these books, I might as well show you guys what I'm getting rid of and why. Thank you for watching another video. If you love this video, I would love it if you gave it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more of me waffle on, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in another video soon. Bye!